The importance of self-love and why you need it to grow. You might be asking yourself why self-love is the first step in a mediumship book series. The relationship with yourself is the most important one to protecting yourself, building a lasting foundation, to building boundaries, trusting in yourself and your abilities. If you don't love yourself enough, this will affect your abilities, your foundation to them, and your connection to all that a medium might be connected to, including our material lives, relationships, and beyond. Each medium is different, and our journeys are also vastly complex. However, no matter our differences or our level of abilities, if you lack in self-love, then you are opening yourself to being hurt by both the material world and the realms in which you are bridging to. Self-love will be a recurring subject in this book series and one of the most important. Several times through my mediumship and growth, this was something that I honestly lacked. My abilities and connections were sporadic and even chaotic. I would be able to connect one day, only to find that I was unable to a day or even moments after a successful reading. Self-doubt was a big contender, as well as judgment from others. My worry of being wrong during a reading was debilitating. I would get something wrong due to fear, or the person I was reading claimed that I was wrong out of self-preservation. In response, I would give up on believing in myself and my abilities. I would fall into doubt, feel ashamed, and I began to fear doing readings for others at all. I definitely learned in the beginning, guys, that having a skeptic that you're reading for is not necessarily a good thing. Doing readings for skeptics is not bad, but like when you're trying to build confidence, I definitely recommend that you don't do a reading on somebody that is a complete skeptic. It can do a lot of damage to yourself if they're unwilling to admit when things are right. Some people just don't want to, and they're gonna have that lens to be like, nope, I'm gonna say no to everything. And even if you are right, they just don't agree with it because they're that much of a skeptic. I definitely read for skeptics now that my confidence is unwavering, but we'll get into that later. I also held some toxic relationships that perpetuated continued self-doubt and shame around my abilities. These toxic relationships would ask me to stop practicing my mediumship or stop talking about my mediumship, as if it disgusted them or even embarrassed them. I would give up on practicing my abilities or hide my experiences and perspectives to avoid confrontation. I learned to hide my spiritual self while in these relationships and held guilt when I attempted to practice reading for myself behind their back, as I was fully aware of their disapproval. I had low self-worth, and even though I felt I had wanted to continue to connect spiritually with the world around me, I let others' opinions of me stop me from doing so. I was met with a lack of support and almost hazing when I would attempt to share this part of me. Looking back, I know none of these things would have happened if I just loved myself and saw that the things I felt were important to me were worth fighting for. However, this perspective of low self-worth was taught to me by all those around me and reinforced through my experiences. These same relationships were unsupportive in several avenues of my life, dismissing my passions, my dreams, my likes, and even my authentic self. So it didn't just stop at mediumship. I wanted to be loved by all those around me so much that I had become a people pleaser. All in an attempt to get their validation, I had become who they thought I should be instead of who I wanted to be. In this process, I had forgotten who I was and who I wished to become, leaving me in a cycle of abuse, fear of abandonment, stuck in codependency and feeling unworthy of my own love. I place blame on myself for being either too much or not enough. If we do not love ourselves, then others get to choose our forms, and we may bend and break ourselves to make that possible. Yet if we hold love for ourselves, then we get to choose our own forms and in the ways that we shape our own individual lives. My lack of self-love had caused me to have little boundaries around my spiritual self as well. I would see a new being as I went through my daily life. If you see them, they see you. I was being followed home by shadow people to the point that they filled my room. I found myself unable to detach from them as my lack of boundaries extended to my spiritual self. I found myself unable to protect myself as I was attacked by beings as I began to fall asleep. I was attacked by beings that hoped to push me from myself. They attempted to take control of me or even hurt me by draining my spiritual energies. Sadly, I have so many of these types of stories as I lacked self-love and my abilities were not something I knew consciously how to turn off. All of these experiences came with invaluable lessons, and I'm glad at least that I can share them with you now. I didn't feel like I could talk to anyone about my experiences that I was having on a spiritual level. I feared what was happening to me, and I didn't think anyone would understand, as I didn't understand. So slowly over time, I began to build subconscious walls to close off my spiritual abilities and gifts. I had been in survival mode for so long that I didn't have the means and emotional capacity to see my abilities through any other perspective than fear. Without self-love, I fell further and further away from myself, until my foundation abilities seemed completely disconnected. However, I found in developing self-love that I was able to connect with myself, reconnect with myself, my abilities, and learn to set healthy boundaries energetically and in my material relationships as well. My life has completely changed the moment I started to choose myself. I began to take leaps to take hold of my own story and to become my own author in my own life. My self-love journey has led me to finding the love of my life, my twin flame, making my dreams come true, getting my abilities back online, and reigniting my passions. It has become a process and not a linear one, as healing takes time and is not in a mandated order. Without my investment in myself and in choosing self-love, I would never have pulled my life out of the hole that I found myself in. I wouldn't have forgiven myself for allowing the harm that had been done to me. I never would have woken to find I had the control to change it all. So this is the chapter, self-love is key. The next one is about using self-love as a form of protection. Spiritual protection, material protection, overall protection. Again, I will keep making these. Thank you so much for staying tuned as I read each chapter. So there is 650 pages, and it has like a whole gamut of different topics, but the first 200 pages of those 650 pages is going to be about self-love, changing the way that you see the world prospectively, and just trying to build a better foundation to self. So stay tuned. Like I said, the next one is self-love equals protection, which I think is a really important chapter. All right, thanks guys. And if you're looking to buy my book, best place to do that is on my site. All right, thanks guys for tuning in. Follow me if you want to see more.